Welcome back. Today's news headline is taken from Japan, and it's the Unification Church. But this has a lot to do with the Jehovah's Witnesses. And we ran an article or a video 2 weeks ago on Japan, and we talked about this. First of all, before we get into the news and everything else attached to it, I want to take us to watching the Watchtower. We want to thank you, watching the Watchtower, for bringing this news headline to us. And if you guys don't know who Watching the Watchtower is, we will put a link in the video to Watching the Watchtower. Now, I was looking at this a couple of weeks ago. If you go to my site, Fixing My Faith site, and a couple of weeks ago we did a video right here called The Second Generation Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses Speak Out, and they were put up against the Unification Church in Japan. And this has been going on for some time now. And now the Unification Church, they're done with the Unification Church, and they've been interviewing a bunch of Jehovah's Witness second generation children that are now adults, and they're speaking out. And what's interesting in Japan, I find, is that they're really taking some quick action. Some quick things are happening here. And so we'll take a look at this in the article. Now, just so you know, in Japan, this is right all over the news, 70% of Japan's second-generation Jehovah's Witnesses are whipped before school age, is the survey. This is what they're talking about. And in Tokyo, a survey on 255 current and former Jehovah's Witness followers revealed that over 70% of those who were subject to corporal punishment were whipped since preschool age, and that more than half of them have psychological aftereffects. And the results of the online survey regarding the corporal punishment, called whipping, was released on March 14th, and volunteers from a group of former second-generation Jehovah's Witnesses archiving child abuse in link with the religious group conducted the survey in September of 2021 and received answers from people aged between 69 to 39. And it goes on to say the volunteers handed a report to the Ministry of Health. And I think this is something to really pay attention to for all of us other countries, because we all have a voice. We're all out of this religion. We're all second or third or fourth generation. But here's what Japan's doing. The volunteers handed a report to the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, and said during March 14th press conference, "We want to record the reality of systematic child abuse. We hope that the religious group will reflect on its actions." So they did the same thing for the Unification Church. They're doing the same thing for the Jehovah's Witnesses. So now we're going to get into the article on the Unification Church. And here it is. It's hit the headlines. I'll just get this here. Well, it actually covers it. So the Unification Church ready to set aside $10 billion fund for the victims. Japan Times. $10 billion. How much is that? Well, that's 66.5 billion in US dollars. It's a lot of money. This is what they're prepared to do. Let's read the article. It says the Unification Church said Tuesday it is ready to set aside up to 10 billion yen funds for future damages, claims from former followers and their family members if the court revokes its religious corporation status. So this is what's up for grabs, folks. Just like in Norway, this group, Unification Church, second in line Jehovah's Witnesses, they're up to lose their religious status in the country. So it says the latest announcement was made as lawmakers in the ruling and opposition parties separately contemplate measures to secure the church's assets if the Tokyo District Court decides to strip the ground of its status. So just like the Jehovah's Witnesses, New York is stripping all of the countries of their wealth. They want to own it all in New York. This is what's happening here. So there's a growing concern that the Unification Church, formerly named the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification, will transfer its assets to South Korea or another group before the court order is issued, which would otherwise cause those assets to be liquidated and confiscated. So the head of the group's Japan branch outlined the group's strategy, expressing their intention to entrust an amount ranging from 6 billion to 10 billion yen to the government. These funds would be reserved to compensate those who come forward with claims against the church in the event that the court approves the government's request to revoke their religious corporation status. In that scenario, the group would lose all of its assets, including worship facilities and training centers. He said the church has stopped funding the group's overseas activities, emphasizing that it has no plans to transfer its assets or funds outside Japan until a court decision is finalized. There is absolutely no need for legislation to secure the assets, Tanaka told the news conference Tuesday at the group's headquarters in Tokyo's ward. I offer my heartfelt apology to all those who have suffered due to our shortcomings. So this is a spokesman for the Unification Church. And he says, I offer an apology to all those who have suffered due to our shortcomings, and especially to the second-generation believers who have endured difficult experiences, as well as to all the people of our nations, said Tanaka. And this is a spokesman for the Unification Church. So you notice there, just like the Catholics, they're offering a heartfelt apology. But yet we've seen in the governing body 2023 annual meetings that Jeffrey Winder said there's no reason for an apology. He says because it's new light. So it's going to be interesting to see how Jehovah's Witnesses handle this. Now, as of yet, I do not know that they made an apology in New Zealand or Australia. I don't think they have, because that was a big obstacle, and they were still supposed to make an apology. So here this church is making an apology and offering money to the victims. So it goes on to say the comments mark the first time the church has apologized over the suffering it has caused to followers and their families since the assassination of the former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe last year, which renewed public interest in the group over its coercive donation tactics. And that was the whole start of this. It was a Unification Church member that assassinated their Prime Minister. So referring to the highly criticized donation tactics, Tanaka defended the church's followers, saying that they didn't take the donors' financial situations into consideration, as it hadn't been considered necessary. Over the 16 months since Abe was killed by a suspect who allegedly had a grudge against the Unification Church, the group said it had responded to a total of 664 donation refund requests, with the value refund totaling around 44.4 billion yen. Tanaka said that if the government creates a legal framework where the victims can be compensated from a pool of funds, the church will offer 6 billion to 10 billion yen as financial resources. We are ready to collaborate with the government to create one-off legislation to address this and make necessary presentations, Tanaka said. This is the Unification Church. But it is unclear if the government will accept the funds. Later in the day, Chief Cabinet Secretary declined to comment on specific cases, only saying that whether the government will accept the funds or not will be determined based on the law. Interesting. So they may not accept the offer. Last month, the government sought a court order to revoke the religious corporation status of the Unification Church amid a backlash over its dubious methods for soliciting donations. The church called the move a violation of freedom of religion as well as human rights. Of course they did. And the church is expected to argue against the case with the latest public apology and financial contribution in hopes that those moves will work to its advantage in the court's proceedings. The church would still be allowed to continue its religious activities as protected by the Freedom of Religious Clause of the Constitution, even if the court revokes its status. The same as within Norway, they can still carry on as JWs, they can worship and do all their stuff. They're just not going to benefit from the grants And I think we've got to do this all over the world, folks. We have to stop giving and giving to these religions that are just getting richer and richer. So it says lawmakers of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party and Comito are currently discussing measures to secure the organization's assets amid concerns that the group might relocate assets. And that's what the Watchtower has done, I believe, all over the world, relocated their assets. It all got signed over. All the Kingdom Halls got signed over to New York. Meanwhile, the Constitutional Democratic Party of Japan and Nippon, both opposition parties, have separately submitted a bill to Parliament to ensure that the group's assets won't be transferred to another group or outside of Japan. And the church has criticized such legislation as infringing on freedom of religion, which is guaranteed under the Constitution. So I think that has to happen all over the world. Japan's ahead of the times, I think. I think they're really doing a good thing here. And this is certainly going to pave the way for other countries. So we'll keep you guys posted as this comes forth, and we'll see if the government even accepts this offer. Be interesting to see what the Japan government does. And they said they're going to apply the law. It's almost like the church has given them a bribe. Here, take some money, and we're going to get the money out of the country. So it sounds like both political parties in Japan, which is important that you have the opposition political party working for the same cause. Both parties are working to snub out this religion, or at least to not snub it out, but to say no more. Enough of this. We're not going to classify it as a charity religion. These guys are just money-making businesses, and they're just getting rich. Well, folks, that's the end of the news article. So, you know what I say, keep living your life with love. Be a good neighbor. We don't get into these troubles. And like my dad said, when they first started talking to me when I was just 18 and starting to learn the Jehovah's Witness religion, he warned me, and he said, it's just like the Moonies. This is what the Unification Church is, the Moonies. I didn't realize how right my dad was. Anyways, we'll see you guys next time. Bye for now.